Hello, everybody. It is 11 o'clock on Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and you know what that means. It is time for the live show, with the live stream, the live check in on Cooking with Chef Dama. For those of you who are here, welcome. My name is Irfan Dama, and this is Cooking with Chef Dama. Cooking with Chef Dama is a show dedicated to making you a better Indian cook. This channel is dedicated to sharing knowledge, chef-driven knowledge, tips, tricks, and kitchen hacks that make you a better Indian chef and better Indian cook. And this channel is for those who have that inner chef, who have this desire to be better cooks. And I speak exclusively in the realm of Indian food. All the content that I put out on this channel is dedicated to that. But the live stream that happens on Saturday morning, that is dedicated to a conversation. This is where the channel is open. Communication flows back and forth between my audience and myself, where we can talk, we can speak about things that are important to us, things that matter to us, things that are topics of importance. It's dedicated to this conversation. The live streams can be anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. I try to make it shorter, but it gets so exciting, the conversation just takes over, that it's really hard to keep it anything shorter than this half-hour program that we have. So, like I was saying, this show is dedicated to a conversation, and today's conversation is one of great importance to me as a chef. So far, we have spoken about food. We've spoken about how to make food. We've spoken about how we love to put food together. This this topic of conversation today deals with deals with the lack of food. The food that I'm pretty sure that most people who have tuned in to watch this live stream do not have any issue with food insecurity. I am sure the problem that most of you who are watching the show right now, the problem you're facing is not about not enough food in the fridge, but where am I going to put the food that's in the fridge? Where we are running out of fridge space and we're all contemplating getting bigger refrigerators. We're talking about getting the second refrigerator in the garden because we just did a Costco run, dropped $600 for a week's amount of food, and we don't have room to put it. These are the people who I believe are tuning into this show. But today, I want to shine a spotlight on those who don't have access to food, those who are insecurity. You see, as a chef, there are two things that are that really bothersome to me. Number one, people going hungry. And number two, the extent of food waste in this country. It is believed that 40% of the food produced in America goes to waste. And yet, in one of the most prosperous countries, in the most prosperous country in the world, people are still going hungry, and in my opinion, that is absolutely unacceptable. Today's conversation, I'm bringing on a very special guest. This person does incredible work with regard to helping those who deal with food insecurity and who is doing great work with food recovery, reaching into the system, tapping into the waste stream, taking advantage of the food abundance that we experience in America, and putting that food to use to feed the marginalized communities, to feed those who are facing insecurity. Her work is really inspiring. I met her through my volunteering at the Berkeley Food Network. I work with her in the kitchen, in the hub kitchen, where she brings together a band of volunteers and using 100% recovered food puts together delicious meals that are then passed on to the marginalized communities and those who are food insecure. So it is my deep pleasure to introduce, as a guest on today's show, Marla DeKlotz. I'm going to now turn over the conversation and let's introduce Marla.
Good morning.
Hello, Marla. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here.
Marla, you do amazing work. You are the hub kitchen manager at the Berkeley Food Network. Am I correct?
Yes.
So why don't I just gave a brief introduction about what we're going to speak about: food insecurity and food recovery. These are topics that are these are very important. These are subjects that are close to my heart. But why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about yourself? Tell us who you are and tell us how you got to this journey.
Right. So I started at the Hub Kitchen just about a year ago. Last July is when I came onto staff. And that year I had just graduated from UC Berkeley. So I was looking for a job at a time where job hunting was pretty tough. And I had started volunteering at the Hub Kitchen kind of in the meantime while I was doing a lot of that job hunting, and then a position opened up and I joined the team. Previous to that, really before I had been a student at all, I had worked in food for many years. So I started as a cook for trail crews for the Forest Service. So doing a lot of outdoor cooking in very, I wouldn't call it primitive, but very simple outdoor setups with propane stoves and feeding 20 to 30 people a day. So I did that for several years. Then I also worked in a range of restaurants. So I've been in food for a long time, and now I get to kind of combine food with social justice, which is really fun.
Thank you. That's quite a journey. So, when you were out, you were cooking for the forest department. What was that like? You were cooking out. Were you cooking in the outdoors in like absolute nature, quiet, beautiful surroundings?
Yeah, so I was in wilderness areas. So our camps could be 5 to 20 miles from any road or any vehicle infrastructure. So our groceries came in on the backs of mules, so did our mail. We got resupplied once a week, and then it was up to me to make sure the crew stayed fed for the rest of that week.
That is incredible. I don't, I could say I've never been close to anything like that, but you're sort of inspiring me to want to do something like this. What a trip that must have been. I mean, out in nature, and you have to. I suppose you have to really think fast, because we as chefs working when I was a chef at Google, supply used to be quite the issue sometimes. And there was no shortage of trucks. There was no shortage of purveyors. We're right in the middle of some of the busiest hubs downtown in Mountain View and in San Jose. But out there, what happens if an ingredient doesn't get to you? What do you do? How do you work around things like that?
Uh, you get creative. So it's interesting because I think over the past year, people have thought more about both about food waste and how to minimize how many times they go to the grocery store.
Hmm.
So that is really turned into an art form when you know you only get groceries once.
Hmm.
So some of the strategies I would use would be to make sure I had a good back stock of dry goods. I'm sure all of us are familiar with this now,
Hmm.
so that I had flour. I could make bread if I needed. I had lots of rice and beans to get complete meals if I needed. And also just knowing a lot about produce and how produce lasts, and the fact that I could order a whole case of butternut squash and keep it unrefrigerated in a tent and it would be fine for a month or two. So those were some of my strategies, because it is true. Sometimes you don't get everything on your order list. Sometimes something will fall off of a mule and be lost down the mountain. These things happen. So you really do have to have a backup plan.
That's fantastic. All right, I'm just going to take a quick second to just say hello to those who have already tuned in. Just wanted to say hi to my good friend Sanjay Narona. Hi Sanjay, how nice to see you. Hello Manisha, thank you for being here. Sean and Razi, great to see you. Will you please let the whole world know where you guys are tuning in from? It will be, I think this is very interesting for people to see that. So go right ahead. Thank you for joining this conversation, which is a very, very important subject. Back to you, Marla. As we spoke about your exciting journey and your experience out working in the wilderness. Where in America? Which park were you at?
I worked all throughout California. So the closest to the Bay Area was Stanislaus National Forest. That's just north of Yosemite. I worked further south in the Inyo Forest, and then way up north by the Oregon border in the Klamath Forest.
Wow. So as you can see, Marla, you're getting quite the international audience. Sean is tuning in from Mumbai. Razi is tuning
Oh,
in from
wow.
London, and the third person, Sanjay Narona, he's probably busy with his busy doing whatever he does on Sunday. He's an avid cook, but he is from the Bay Area. So we've got quite a collection over here who've people who've tuned in to see you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's move to the subject of from the forests that you have worked at. You then found your place at the Berkeley Food Network in the hub kitchen. And to the people who are watching out there, we can pretty much say um, Marla technically is my boss, so please be nice. She's the one who cracks the whip, makes sure that I get things done, or we as a team get things done. It is a very exciting. It's a very exciting place, and Marla is our fearless leader. It's a great opportunity to be able to come where Marla has a vision for the food that she has recovered, and she says, "Okay, today I want to make a strata. Or today I want to make. Today I've got some vermicelli. Let's make a kheer." And she throws the ideas out there, and the team gets together. She gives us some recipes. We look up our own, and we put these meals together. It's so much fun, and it's going towards such a good cause. This working in this project on this mission means that to me, Marla, that food insecurity is something that bothers you just as it bothers me. It's something that makes you angry. I understand. So why don't you tell us what exactly is food insecurity, and tell us in your words and what it means to you and what the concept of food insecurity is.
In a nutshell, to me, especially living in modern America, where most people are not farmers, we're not gardening or farming to produce our own food. If you don't have enough food, it's because you don't have enough money.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of reasons for that. There are a lot of ways you can be income insecure, or just be in an industry where you're not paid enough, or be living in an area where living expenses are just very high, which is especially true in the Bay Area. So there are a lot of young people, families, and seniors who can't really make their income match with their expenses, especially things like rent. So at the end of the day, when you know you have to pay your rent, because if you don't, you'll be evicted. You know you have to pay your medical bills. You know you have to pay your utility bills. The thing that you can really cut down on is your food spending. And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes people pay all of their other bills and then realize they don't really have enough money left to buy for themselves a nutritious diet. So there are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of cheap calories out there. You can get by on ramen noodles. But for Berkeley Food Network, we really want to expand what people can eat as a way to protect their health.
Yeah, it is so tragic that food insecurity is usually associated with people near or below the poverty line. But from my research and understanding, it's that it's not necessarily the situation where you are near the poverty line at all. And food insecurity could happen in places even where you have income, but this is how it affects. We don't, some of us, most of us who are watching this don't have to think about it, but this is a subject that really affects people around us, and we don't know it. And thank you, Marla, for helping us put a face to this issue. We have heard that 40% of all the food produced in America goes to waste. And we had spoken about it, you had elaborated it very well. Could you tell us more about the statistic, and could you elaborate on that 40% waste?
Yeah, so 40%, it sounds really large, but really a lot of groups that have studied this have all come up with the same number. So we're pretty confident that that's the actual number. And basically, in the US especially, food is wasted or lost at every step of the way. So at the level of the farm, if produce doesn't meet some pretty strict cosmetic standards for grocery stores, then it's often not even picked, or if it's
Mm-hmm.
picked, it's later sorted out and thrown away. And then when you get to the level of grocery stores, there's an expectation that things will look really abundant. So stores tend to really pile up produce, and they want to present a lot to the purchaser of food. And then you have the produce at the bottom getting squished and getting thrown away. Or you overstock bread, so you never look like you're low on bread. And then at the end of the day, you have all this day old bread that you can't sell anymore. So there's that level. And then there's the level of places like restaurants and corporate kitchens who are feeding employees the same thing. They want to have a large view of abundance, and that translates into bigger portions, a lot of which end up uneaten. And then at the household level, which is actually where, they think about a quarter to 40% of total food waste comes from. People are actually purchasing food with the intentions of eating it or cooking with it. They get busy, they forget about it, or it reaches its sell-by date, which are really confusing for many consumers, and they feel like they have to throw it out. So they're not sure if it's safe to eat. They end up throwing it away.
That is, I mean, that is truly tragic. But I I actually happened to come across this on a John Oliver show where it opened my eyes that the sell by date on goods that we see in grocery stores is it's actually mandated by the producers, and it's not sort of like it's more like a mere suggestion than it is actually a rule. Is that correct?
That's correct. So most of those dates have nothing to do with food safety. They're often either decided by the manufacturer, who's making a statement about, the food will be at its highest quality before this date, or the store shouldn't sell it beyond this date. But as an example, so some of the rules of thumb that we use at Berkeley Food Network is that dairy is basically always good for at least 7 days past its sell-by date. And a lot of people at home will just toss the yogurt, pour the milk down the drain, and it's actually fine. Really, the only food products that have a date that relates to food safety are things like infant formula. So if a
Oh,
product has a sell-by date or a best-by date, that doesn't relate to food safety at all. If it has a use-by date, that's the only date that has some type of federal oversight for food safety.
federal oversight for food safety. That I think a lot of people watching this would probably be surprised. Marla, I'm just going to take a minute to say hello to a few people who have also just checked in. I'd like to say a big hello to my friend James Whittle, a fellow chef that I have worked with at Eat Club and I continue to collaborate with on several projects. Hello, James. So nice to see you here. I also want to say hi to Design Guru, that is Vinay from Nashik, who is checking in from Nashik. Uh, Good to see you here again, Vinay. Thank you for tuning in. And just wanted to read out. Sanjay is putting on some. Sanjay has commented about it's sad because so much marketing is about how vegetables should look. More marketing, expiration dates. Tragic and criminal when people are starving. Could not agree with you more. And Sanjay says can't donate expired food either because of liability. Um, Marla, could you? That is actually true. We don't. There is this fear about liability, about donating food that is expired, and but isn't there something about the Good Samaritan law that you had spoken about once? And could you tell us about a little bit about that?
Mhm. Yeah, so in the US, there's a Good Samaritan law at the federal level that protects food donors. In California, there's also one at the state level that really makes it clear that food companies and individual donors cannot really be held liable for anyone getting sick unless there was some proof of gross negligence. So if people are donating food in good faith that they believe is still good to eat, they are legally protected.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that information. This is information. Sean D'Souza asks: are use-by dates really hard dates, or are there buffers in them? And I think Marla, you have answered that question in the sense is that there are when we say buffers. Marla spoke about you said 7 days for dairy and uh, I think in terms of the way I use it in my own personal kitchen is when in doubt, throw it out. If it looks bad, if it smells bad, don't use it. Me, I'm somebody who probably pushes the envelope a little bit in terms of okay, even if it's kind of rotting on one side, I will cut off the rotting part and I will try to use the other part in soup, and on something that can be something that can be salvaged. And this is a good segue to just speak about uh, recovery, because we speak about the insecurity and we've identified that this insecurity in America is real. You may not see this in the people next to you and the people walking by you, but a statistic that I read on Feed America website, it says 1 in every 9 Americans experience food insecurity, and that amounts to approximately 37 million Americans. And that tallies to about 11 million children. And children going to bed hungry is, in my opinion, I think food security should be a human rights. It should be a right. It should be at a time in history when the world is so abundant. I personally believe nobody should be going to bed hungry. Not at this time. And so I want to walk into the next stage of what we're speaking about, and that is the recovery. How can we save some of this food? What can we do to save food from going down the drain? What can we do to save food that is going to be wasted? This is one of this ethos. The ethos of the hub kitchen is what attracts me to the organization, and I choose to volunteer my time there because of this philosophy. And I particularly like what you do in the Berkeley Food Network, where the food is recovered, but the food that is considered waste and discarded, it is gathered together and it is turned into something beautiful. I was gonna say edible, but I think what comes out of the hub kitchen is more than edible. I think it's beautiful. So Marla, could you tell us about the mission? Could you tell us the mission about the hub kitchen, the Berkeley Food Network, and the food recovery program?
So Berkeley Food Network as a whole, we're committed to the same idea that really food is actually abundant and there's more than enough, not just calories, but healthy food so
Mm-hmm.
that everyone can have a good, well-rounded diet.
Hmm.
So the Hub Kitchen fits into that, taking some of the recovered food that we get from different sources that maybe
Mm-hmm.
is more difficult to give out through a traditional food pantry that would kind of overload a household size. So we're talking 5-gallon buckets of kefir cheese or sour cream, huge bags of shredded carrots, diced onions, things that are really intended for restaurants and other food service areas. So we can take that food and transform it into complete meals and then freeze it and basically buy ourselves some time. So this food that has a lot of nutrition and value can actually go to its highest purpose of feeding a human being.
Wow, that is, and that's some of the food that comes to the hub kitchen, and I understand that everything that comes out of the hub kitchen is made 100% from recovered food. Is that right?
That's correct. We might buy some really small things like our olive oil and our salt, but all of our ingredients are recovered. And really, for the hub kitchen especially, most ingredients we get are coming from restaurants and other large scale food service providers.
So that tell us, Marla, some of the dishes that I'd love for the people who are watching this to know. What are some of the dishes like? So what are some of the foods that have come out of the kitchen, on on a general day in a week in the hub kitchen, and also could you tell us then is who then gets this food? How is it distributed? Love to know a little bit about the hub kitchen process, and how many meals come out of, and how many meals do you do on an average week?
So our kitchen is basically volunteer run. So I really try to look at the strengths of my volunteers and the kind of food that they're interested in cooking, or the kind of food that relates to their own food culture. And I really capitalize on that. So especially for you, Irfan, I know you can make any kind of Indian dish we could think of. So when I do get in these ingredients that make me think of Indian food, I love to just hand them over and just let you run wild with them. We have other volunteer cooks who maybe come from more of a like Chinese or Korean food background. So we make a lot of stir fries, fried rice. We also try to balance our efforts between breakfast and entree. So we do a lot of stratas, frittatas, which is also a great way to use up whatever vegetables we happen to have that day. We do a lot of oatmeal. I'm a big believer in the power of oatmeal. We can add a lot of fruit, a lot of nuts, maybe some yogurt, and make a really high quality breakfast. Yeah, we just kind of follow whatever ingredients came in that week. So we're very flexible. I usually don't know what we're going to cook until the day before, or sometimes the morning of. And if people in the kitchen have better ideas, then we're always open to that too. So that's a little bit of the kind of food that we make. As far as who gets the food, Berkeley Food Network, we basically serve three main populations. We serve working families, students who are often working and going to school and may also have a family, and then seniors. So a lot of our prepared meals go out through groups that serve seniors. We work with a city program called Aging Services. We work with like senior apartments where a lot of the residents are fixed income. And then we also support a lot of food pantries near UC Berkeley that serve graduate students who work very hard but don't get paid very much, and other people who are just working a lot, and having a frozen meal on those days where you really just can't cook for yourself is very helpful.
That's true. It's nice to be able to again put a face to the situation, because um, there's so many people who, in my opinion, I refer to them as the entitled sort, who just um, sneer at these social programs about entitlement and people abusing the system and so on and so forth. Why do people need to have this? Why can't they just? I've heard this so much. Why can't they just get off their backsides and find a job? And very often I put up the argument saying that, well, most people who are using food stamps and most people who are availing of the pantry actually have jobs. Sometimes two, sometimes three, and they still can't make ends meet. And it's always met with scorn, and it's always met with, hey, whatever, you don't know what you're talking about. If you have a job, you should be able to put food on the table. And I think that just stems from a place of, I guess, ignorance, and not having a conversation, not having a face to face with people who actually are who are struggling with this. And when you put it out like that, there are people who actually struggle, and these are people you could bump into every day in the grocery store. You can bump into uh, you meet these people on a regular basis. It's nice to put that face. It's nice to put a face to that, to what's going on out there. Marla, do you have any stories, a personal story of anyone you have met or encountered that sort of changed, or tugged at your heartstring, that you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, touching on this same idea that people expect you to just get a job and make it work on your own.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a lot of shame among people who need food assistance.
Mm-hmm.
They feel guilty that they're asking for it or seeking it out. They feel like they have to show a lot of gratitude that it's there. And basically, it's almost like internalizing this belief that if I don't have enough to pay for food, it means that there's something deeply wrong with me.
Hmm.
I had a conversation the other day with one of our volunteers, and she's retired now, and she moved here from Korea with her husband when she was very young.
Mm-hmm.
And they worked very hard. They didn't have a lot of money. She
Hmm.
was raising 3 children. And at one point, a teacher encouraged her to apply for basically reduced lunch programs for her school kids.
Mm-hmm.
And she was too embarrassed. She said, "We're not beggars. We work. We're not going to ask for a handout." And from my perspective, our society frankly doesn't pay enough for the jobs at the bottom. A lot of immigrants especially are really taken advantage of when it comes to what they're paid.
Mm-hmm.
And that extends across all industries. We could have a whole conversation about tech industries and other high-paying industries that still pay immigrants a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these factors, they're not really the fault of the person who's suffering from their effects, but there's still almost this reticence to ask for help, even when it's really needed.
Hmm.
So a big mission for Berkeley Food Network is to reduce stigma, to make the experience of coming to our food pantry. We have a lot of mobile food pantries. They're often located at schools, so parents can pick up their kids and pick up some groceries. We want to make it normal. We don't want people to fill a lot of paperwork. We're not asking you to prove that you need food.
Mm-hmm.
We just want to share the abundance of food and support the whole community in that way.
That is so. That is so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. This is something that I'm sure will create a lot of awareness among those who are watching. I just wanted to just turn away now and just look at some of the comments coming in. We've got a few comments coming in, and I just want to say, if anybody has a question for Marla, please go ahead and type it in the comments section. Marla is, as you can see, is very well. She's so aware, and she's so in tune with what is happening. So please put your questions out there. I am looking up at my Razi has a couple of questions. He says something that's scaling that up. If we believe that we're all human with noble intention, then a case of Uber Eats, people's intentions to donate and giving away food, that moving it from places of homes of abundance to homes that need it. I think I understand Razi. What Razi is saying is, there are places where there is food that is produced and people have it in abundance, and then there are areas where there's a food desert. There's people have no access to it, but there is a gap in between where, from abundance to scarcity, a bridge needs to be created. I think, Razi, I think that's what you're trying to say, and it ties into there is the bridge, then what can we do as a community, as a group of concerned citizens? What can we do? What are some of the things that we can do to bridge that gap, to connect this abundance with scarcity? Marla, do you have anything to say about that?
So, a big focus of our organization has been to create these mobile pantries with the idea that, we have a centralized location, we have a big warehouse, we can pull in quite a bit of food into one place. It's pretty central in Berkeley. It's close to the water, but it's kind of right in the middle. But then we want the food actually to go out into many different neighborhoods, and we want to basically get it in proximity to people who would need it. And I think a lot of people who have food abundance, their neighbors also have food abundance. They probably live on a block where everyone is doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing people who are hungry, you actually have to physically move yourself to be closer to that community.
Mm-hmm.
So starting projects where you actually do put a store or a pantry in a neighborhood that really needs it, and supporting the ideas at the level of your city or your county or your state to make sure that that happens. Another thing that's happening more and more in Berkeley and in Oakland is this building of kind of micro pantries or free food fridges, which are just, in front of someone's house or maybe in front of a local business. And it's very similar to like the tiny free libraries where you can just take a book. If you have extra books, you can leave a book. You're doing the same thing with food. And that's also a great way to reduce a lot of stigma. You don't have to fill out any paperwork. You don't have to meet any requirements. And the times where you have extra food, you can share it. And the days where, you're a few days away from your next paycheck, you can go and just get it as needed. So that's kind of something that I would like to see happen in more places. I think it's a really flexible and beautiful way for community to take care of its own.
Take care of its own. That is I think that is the underlying principle that we're speaking about, is how do you take care of your own. I just like to say, for me personally, I was taught, these were the lessons that my daddy taught me. These were the lessons that I learned in my school. It's, if you see somebody at the side of the road in trouble, and if you know that you can do something to help, it becomes your duty to do so. Or whether it could be somebody on the side of the road with a flat tire. And if you know how to change a tire and that person is stranded about changing that flat tire, it becomes your duty to stop and help if you're able to. And I think this again is, to me, this subject bothers me at a level of, at this level, being a chef, being that I can cook. I can. I have this ability. I used to prepare with my team close to 1,000 meals a day for the employees at Google, and after the pandemic, this question bothered me: who have I been cooking for? Who am I cooking for? And who should I be cooking for? And that was one of the things the pandemic put so much perspective, especially since those who were already food insecure just added to that list. Uh, Thanks to the Berkeley Food Network, the Berkeley Food Network has donated groceries so that I can take a bunch of volunteers and at a church kitchen be able to put together food for the homeless population, and there are volunteers who come and pick up this food, and I thank the Berkeley Food Network for that. Uh, it's in that bridge, as Razi had questions, but in that bridge, what can we do as concerned citizens to build that bridge? I would love to hear from the audience if you have any ideas about how this bridge can be connected. Such lovely ideas that are coming through this. If you have any ideas about ways in which a bridge can be built from abundance to scarcity, I would love to hear that in the comments. Please put that down. Before I get any further, though, while you're putting these questions, I put together a little slideshow, a little movie, and these are pictures that Marla sent me. This is a small glimpse into what it is like in the pantry. in the kitchen, and so I call this the journey of the blueberry. I was part of this effort. Thank Marla, that was a lot of fun. I think we had this abundance of blueberries, and there were so many blueberries. I mean, oh my God, there was like a mountain of blueberries, and so our task was to sift through the blueberries. As those watching will know, very often you will get blueberries. They get fungused very, very easily. As the skin's bruised, it becomes a breeding ground for fungus. And so we generally will just throw out the blueberries, but a lot of the blueberries can be rescued. And so that was the journey that we went, and we had a huge shipment of blueberries to the pantry, and then the volunteers got together, sifted through it, and I'm really happy that even the blueberries that were fungused got collected in a little pot, and it went into someone's compost pile, and it was just the fact of being able to use all of that was great. So let me run that real quick if you don't mind. I call this the journey of the discarded blueberry. As you can see, the blueberries are here. Here is the team working through as we're sifting through. In the little corner over there, that is the bin which collecting all the blueberries. Then it goes onto the stove. Now, Marla, you have a lovely recipe for the compote. And then it starts getting mixed in after that with the blueberry salvage. I think there was some blueberries that went in an Impossible Burger meatloaf. Or there was, and here's the blueberry
They
compote.
didn't go into the meatloaf.
It did
Sorry.
go to meatloaf. And
It
here
did
it's
not go
going.
into the meatloaf.
Here it is. There it is. It's there. It's stopping the meatloaf right there. It's going on oatmeal. And
Oh, that's
that
actually a
was.
cake.
I'm sorry. Oh, it's
So
a
that
cake.
was we made an oatmeal blueberry cake topped with blueberry sauce. So we have photos from a few different cooking projects. But yeah, the blueberries were a major project for that day. And I think this is a great example of, you look at these little containers of blueberries, you open it up and you think, oh, there's mold, there's fungus, let's throw it all out. But when you actually take the time, you realize how much of that food is actually still good.
That is that's that is actually true, and the goal of this for those who are watching this is to spread that awareness. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and talk to us about this growing problem that is not only in America but across the world. It's if anybody who is watching this can walk away with some learning, or if there is a takeaway that I would love people to have, it's that's the understanding that hunger is real. Hunger is far more widespread than you think it is. It's all around us. And as citizens of a community, we can do something about it. So it's just to raise that awareness. And this is the call to action that I would like to spread out. Marla, to those concerned citizens, how can they help? Who can they go to? For those people who are watching this, will be watching all over the world. There's definitely the ability to go to berkeleyfoodnetwork.org to volunteer, to donate, to help the cause. But if you're in another part of the world, where would somebody go to find out where the action is? Where can they go if they want to help? Where would they actually start?
I think a great place to start is just a Google search to see what's happening in your area. So in the US, a lot of areas are served by sort of centralized food banks. Those generally have well-developed websites that can tell you more about food insecurity in your area. And then from there, food banks serve the smaller version of a food pantry, which is where the food actually gets handed out generally. So
Okay.
if you have time or if you have resources, you can donate to a food pantry in your area. There are a lot of meal programs similar to the Hub Kitchen that they have their mission to just cook food and give it out. Sometimes those are run through churches or other religious groups. So just see what's in your area and decide, what am I interested in? Where are my skills? Do I have some time? Do I have, a skill I could teach others or share? Unfortunately, I don't know very much about how things work abroad as far as what sort of infrastructure is out there. But
Mm-hmm.
people who are motivated, just take a look around, see what's in your community, see where
Mm-hmm.
the needs are. You could start small. You could start your own food drive or fundraising to support your local food pantry. I think the sky is the limit, really. But if you feel inspired, I encourage everyone to get involved, because I think part of the journey is, first of all, just learning.
Mm-hmm.
What does hunger look like where I live, and
Mm-hmm.
what sort of resources are there that are underutilized?
Correct. I have a comment here from Sanjay Narona who says, I have some retired friends who drive around every day in San Jose, picking up daily baked bread from various Safeways and dropping it off at food shelters. And I think that's really, really nice. It's nice if you're able to to do something. To do something even as small as that. To pick up bread, because I'm sure there are a lot of organizations that would be able to be happy to just say, here you go, we're donating it, we're getting rid of it, uh, and use that to do something to feed the others. Sanjay says,
Yeah, and I think
right?
this comment also hits on a real need, which is that a lot of places that are willing to donate, they
Mm-hmm.
don't have the logistical power to deliver it anywhere.
Hmm.
So the food generally the problem is getting the food from where it is to where it needs to go. So
Mm-hmm.
people who are willing to drive are a major help, and we rely on them a lot for Berkeley Food Network.
My friend Razi says it probably has to be a decentralized solution rather than a centralized one. Micro fridges would get populated by food locally rather than move to a centralized center. And I think that's where it lies. Thank you for these comments, by the way. Please keep them coming. Please keep your questions coming. Um, and yeah, it's having a decentralized solution it's a great idea, but it takes, I think, the inspiration to step out, step up, and do something about it. And the solution lies with you. I wanted to just I just wanted to I just wanted to share a small story that I had read, and it made a it impacted me. This was from Chicken Soup for the Soul, and so if you've heard this, please bear with me. But I really love this. It's the story of the starfish. I don't know if you've heard about this one, but it was about a man walking on the shore of on seashore. He would pick up the starfish. He would pick up starfish and he would throw it back into the ocean. The tide would bring in the starfish, and then it would be left on the beach. And he would be walking every day and he would picking up starfish and throwing it back. So a gentleman asked him, goes, what are you doing? And he explains that the tide brings the starfish in. Some of the starfish go back with the tide, but some of them get left on the shore. By the time the next tide comes in, the starfish does not have access to water. It dries up and it dies. And so I am picking up the starfish that are washed on the shore and I'm putting them back in the ocean. And the gentleman goes, but that's stupid. I mean, the coastline on the west coast of America is so many thousand miles. The east coast is so many thousand miles. There's so many miles of coast. There's so many starfish that get washed up that what you are doing is gonna make absolutely no difference to the population of the starfish. And the man picked up the starfish and said, but it makes a difference to this one. And I think that is where it lies. It doesn't make a difference that you make a huge dent on the level of some of the greats who have impacted the world. But if you can make a difference to even one person, that in itself is worth it. And so I just wanted to share the story. It just came up in my head that the actions, however small, make a difference to one person. And even if it makes a difference to one person, that is an effort worth it is worth taking that effort. I just had to share that. It was a story that I found very, 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 very beautiful. um Sanjay has an idea. He says some Amazon drops off daily at Safeway and even they own Whole Food. I doubt they dabble in this kind of things. I could mention a director who's in the last mile delivery. It's good. It's the people who are watching this are people who are connected at that level. And it's a call to action to those of you who have the connections to step up and be like, what can I do to make the change? Razi has another good point about loyalty programs that use stored loyalty programs that can be used to populate food banks. These are great ideas. Thanks for bringing this up. This makes me happy to hear this coming from you guys, because this is the purpose of the live stream at 11 o'clock Saturday morning. It's to have this conversation. It's to throw ideas out, and I would love the conversation to continue. It's been almost 50 minutes now since we started. I have taken up your valuable time, Marla. I think it is time to wrap up. Uh, Before we go, Marla, do you have anything to say to our audience who's watching this?
Just encouraging people that if you're interested, just go out and learn more. I shared a few links with you, Irfan, earlier. I don't know if you'll post those, but
You
there's a
know,
couple of great organizations.
okay.
One is called Refed,
Hmm.
and they work on ideas for reducing food waste, primarily in the US, but the same ideas could work elsewhere. And
Okay.
then the other one is called the Food Research and Action Committee, and they study hunger in the US. Like, what does it look like? What are its drivers? And they have a really great website where you can just learn more.
Is that refed.org?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. What is you had sent them to me, but
Uh,
I didn't get to put them together. What is the other one that you had said?
so that one's actually refed.com,
Okay.
not
And
.org. And then the other one is FRAC, FRAC.org.
so it's refed.com. Then there is
Mm-hmm.
frac.org.
Mm-hmm.
And these will be able to, these are good resources to go to to be able to help out. Okay, thank you so much for sharing. I should have put these out before, but I kind of got carried away with doing the journey of the blueberry. But thank you so much for taking this time to come on, and thank you so much everybody who tuned in to be part of this conversation. It was really really good to have you. Um, we will be signing off now. I just wanted to tell my audience, those who are watching, that for the next 3 to 4 weeks, I'm moving away from live and I'm going to pre program because I'm going to be going on a journey. I'm driving across from California to Missouri, and I don't think I will be able to do live streams over there. If I can, I certainly will, but I will be reverting to recorded shows. So for the next 4 sessions, it will be pre-recorded stuff. The other thing that I loved is the conversation that people have with me, and a lot of people said like the live streams are great when you're part of it, but they are too long and cumbersome to go back to listen to the comments and to listen to everybody with their saying hellos and highs. So I'm now going to start posting recaps, shortened down versions of these live streams, so it's easy for you, people to take away the learning without having to go through the conversation. Though in this recap, I don't know what we could put away because there was so much great information that was packed that I'm going to probably leave this one alone. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for showing up. If you liked this show and if you are still watching, please give us your thumbs up. Please let the Google algorithm know that this is good content. And before I sign off, I just wanted to say hello to Mercy Anthony from Tennessee. Thank you, Mercy, for tuning in and being a regular supporter of this show. I saw you post up, but I just wanted to reach out and say thank you for being such a good supporter. Marla, it has been a slice. It has been so much fun. Thank you so much for taking the
Yes, that's
time
great.
and spreading the good word. It's been inspiring to most of us, to all of us who've been watching, I am sure. Thanks a lot. And I will see you on Wednesday for my shift, boss. Signing
All
in.
right. I'll
Crack that
see you
whip.
there.
I'll see you then. Thanks, Marla. And thank you,
You're
everybody.
welcome.
Have a
Thank you, Irfan.
fan. Thank you. Have a fantastic Saturday.